Yeah. And these experiences continue, and then now he shares that even when we are not looking into our souls, in the last paragraph he shares, even when we fail to look into our souls, or light embedded in earthly consciousness, always involving ourselves with what is going on the outer side, the relationships, the thoughts, the emotions, always on the surface, always, still we have parts that grow towards the light. So there is something in us which loves light, beauty, harmony, words by masters, mystics that are full of illumination, clarity. There is something in us which craves for that. Yeah. Yeah. Yet are the luminous tracts and heavens serene, and Eldorados of splendor and ecstasy, and temples to the Godhead none can see. So all these treasures, all these tracts, luminous tracts within us, within our being, they as if they await us. Although we are most of the time, half of the life, mostly, sometimes complete life is spent living on the surface consciousness as human beings. But that does not mean that the doors to the temple, inner temple, are closed. All the tracts, all the luminous tracts, heavens serene, cities full of splendor and ecstasy, temples to the Godhead none can see, all these await our attention. When will the attention get turned within, so that we can tune in to our deeper self and a very large part of us which awaits us, very, very silently it waits for us. And please, whenever you have sharings or reflections, unmute, and in the middle, whenever you feel like, you can share. Yeah. And sometimes when our sight is turned within, now this is a beautiful thing, because many masters and mystics have said that all these outbound senses and the mind then interpreting the senses, it keeps our attention focused always towards worldly affairs. Not to say that the world does not have to be related to, but we always remain like very limited to our senses. Whatever senses are saying, we will be believing. Whatever mind is interpreting, that is becomes my limited vision. Yeah. So sometimes when the senses are not outbound, they are turned within the being, as if the microscope, which was always trying to understand the outer world, now goes within the being, turns within the being. And these times when people are in lockdown, they have given us beautiful opportunity that we can go within the being, because there is hardly anything that we can do outside. Yeah. So we have been forced to look within. Yeah. Otherwise the senses always keep us outbound. We are not really willing to turn inward. So although through a bit of pain and suffering, we have been given this chance to look within the being. There is all this awaits us within the being. Sometimes when our sight is turned within, earth's ignorant veil is lifted from our eyes. As if the usual life that we live, it's a veiled life. We only are able to see the tip of the iceberg, and the whole of the iceberg below the water, not actually visible in day to day life, remains untouched, unharnessed. Yeah. So this veil is lifted from our eyes whenever we turn our sight within the being, whenever we look at our own inner movements and go also beyond those inner movements, touch the depths, touch the stillnesses in our being. Then there is a short, miraculous escape from ignorance. And all of us have tasted that. I can, really, I'm assured that all of us in our lifetimes have tasted these times where we have this short, miraculous escape which takes us somewhere deep and also gets in touch with our depths and our heights. Yeah. This narrow fringe, so this is what we read today. This is all that we read the last time. And now we begin the newer lines to reflect upon. Yeah, so anyone who feels ready can read the lines in pink, and then one by one we will reflect upon it.
This narrow fringe of clamped experience we leave behind, meted to us as life. Our little walks are insufficient reach.
Yes. So the usual experiences in our life that we have, as if he compares it with, imagine that you have a shawl, and on the shawl there is a frill, like on the borders there is some threads hanging. So that is what is called the fringe. So what we experience in our ordinary consciousness as human beings is just that narrow fringe of clamped experience. It's not a very fullness or richness of experience. It's a very, very limited window from which we look at life. Very limited window. And from there, we judge you, we make judgments about God, about creation, about divine, about our lives. From there, this clammed experience, we make further plans in our life. So all that is happening through a very, very narrow window, as if. And we are unavailable to the vastness of experience, which we can have, which is our birthright, I would say, as human beings. So this is a very narrow fringe of clamped, like, tightly clamped, clipped experience. It is not all of it. We leave behind meted. So this clamped of experience, this limited vision of things, always limited, shallow vision of things, we leave behind such kind of a living. So there is a shift in consciousness. Owing to the growth in consciousness, there is a shift. Now I am not anymore living absolutely on the surface and agreeing that that is the only truth. I am also aware now of deeper realities, more and more getting in touch with my deeper truth, and also understanding that whatever I see and understand is a very limited vision. There is much more to understand and to get aware of. So we leave behind this narrow clamped experience. We leave behind meted to us as life, like a big cloth. There is a big cloth which we measure in meters. So if I have to give you 3 meters, I'll meet it out to you, like I'll give it out to you. Yeah, so he beautifully he uses this word here, that as if we have been given out this particular fringe, little window of experience as an ordinary consciousness. But when we are willing, when we are ready, then we can expand in our understanding, in our consciousness, touch greater depths in the being, and also greater heights that are available to us. So we leave behind, meted to us as life, our little walks, our insufficient reach. So as a human being, we want to live a larger life. But we think that a larger life is when I have a big car, big house, maybe more money. So intention behind all this gaining and accumulating wealth is the intention, the root intention is absolutely right, that I want to live a large life, I want to live a big life. But the distortion is there. I think that by having a big car, big house, more degrees, more finances, I will have a bigger life, I will have a larger life. But this is how Sri Aurobindo is sharing here, how we can leave behind living on the surface consciousness, and then we walk towards our depths and touch our heights in the being. And for all that, we are absolutely all by ourselves. We may have support from here and there, but this is a lone journey. In the silences of our being, we are all by ourselves. That's the beauty. So we leave behind our little walks, little petty issues of life, always getting entangled in little conflicts, ego conflicts here, there, emotional, mental conflicts. We get in touch with deeper facts of life, deeper realities that are waiting for us to be touched. Yeah. So, yeah, I would stop here and ask for reflections before we start for the new lines. Yeah. Please, anyone, if you have anything to add on, to elaborate or share, go ahead, please. Okay, so in absence of anything, we'll just go ahead and keep on moving ahead. Yeah. So anyone who would like to read the lines?
Our souls
Uh,
can. Oh, sorry.
Should I
Hello?
go ahead?
Yeah, yeah, Shweta, okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
Our souls can visit in great lonely hours still regions of imperishable light, all seeing eagle peaks of silent power and moon flame oceans of swift fathomless bliss and calm immensities of spirit space. Very beautiful.
Yes. So now, getting in touch with these deeper depths which were always available to us. The beauty is that they were always available, but I was not ready. And when we are ready, when we have had enough of outer experiences, enough of trials, experimentations, mistakes, falling on our nose, all the experiences that are required as a human being, then when we are ready, then we turn within. Our souls can visit in great lonely hours, still regions of imperishable light. Now, this is very powerful. Why? Because, whenever we are going through very dark, traumatic, difficult experiences in our life, this light, this imperishable light, is always available and shining in our being. There is one quote by, I think, Hafiz, where he says that, I wish I could show you the astonishing light of your being when you are in your darkness. So then, when we are going through these darker challenges, then we need support. All of us need support. We are there to carry each other home. And there are people in our lives, our mentors, our gurus, maybe books by them, masters. Those words, when we listen, maybe we, help, take the help of a therapist. Those people help us to get in touch within our darkness with this deeper light. So while I am going through a challenge, I get in touch with something which is still pure, shining, even when I'm going through a dark period. And this is something which is very hopeful. It gives a lot of hope when we are going through, people are going through tough phases in life, very dark phases in life. Still regions of imperishable light, a light which can never perish. You may be in great depression, but the light is always there. It's just that a disconnect has been, developed, and the disconnect appears so real that the light cannot be seen at all. And then we need help, so that someone can show us that the light is still there. Our souls can visit in the great lonely hours still regions of imperishable light, all seeing eagle peaks of silent power. Eagle, eagle vision is a very large kind of a vision. He's able to very sharp. So from very far, he has a very sharp vision. He knows where exactly the prey is, and he's very fast. He goes stooping downwards and catches exactly clarity, very clear, sharp, and hits at the point. At times it may miss, but mostly it's very precise. So eagle peaks, as if when we go deeper into these depths of our being, touch this light, this essence within the being, as if we get in touch with this larger vision of things, more wisdom, more clarity, more sharpness, more kind of strength in the being, the power that eagle has, silent power. Beautiful eagle peaks, a larger vision, more intensity, but also a power which is not a very trembling power, not wanting to show it off. It's a very silent power, very solid silent power that we come in touch with when we touch these depths. And moon flame oceans of swift fathomless bliss. So as if one can actually kind of be in a, just like we bask in a pool, swimming pool, or waters, a river. So we can bask in this moon flame oceans of fathomless bliss, just like our darknesses are too abyssal, that we are just drowning and drowning deeper into our darknesses and challenge. Just like that, this imperishable light within and the fathomless bliss within is also fathomless. It can never end. I can never say that, okay, I have had enough of it, that I have touched where all the, the far it has to take me, it had to take me. So it is beautiful that it is so vast that I can never say that I have covered it all. That's the beauty of the divine bliss. And moon flame, so flame has an intensity. Yeah, whenever we talk about flame, flame is full of warmth and intensity, and yet he put it along with moon. And moon is a symbol of coolness. It's very cool. So the intensity is there, but there is also a very cool, gentle intensity. It's not a burning intensity that will burn you. So moon flame soothes. Whenever we talk about moonlight, it is very soothing in nature. It soothes us. Moon flame oceans of swift, fathomless bliss. This is all available to us in our being, in the depths of our being, and calm immensities of spirit space. So, that space, that nothingness, which earlier used to make me afraid, actually, that I felt lonely in that nothingness. Now I'm feeling one and held in that spirit space. So the same nothingness which appeared earlier very scary, and as if there is, I felt very lonely. Now, if we have this growing consciousness and we touch our depths, as if this space which earlier appeared very scary, now it appears very, very kind of gentle, and as if it is holding us in its laps. Yeah. Calm immensities of spirit space. And we have earlier, many times, I've shared in the sessions that as if each particle of space is full of divine presence, full of spirit. And when it touches you, when this particle of space touches you, you cannot truly feel the touch. But if you just, kind of put your attention that this is the space which is touching me, which is full of divine presence, divine spirit, we actually feel held and touched by the divinity all the time. It gives us a lot of comfort and also a lot of strength to go ahead further on the journey. Yeah. So I'll pause here again and invite reflections, if any.
It's beautiful, Monica, really. Because that line, no, great lonely hours. Yes, always Shervindo appreciate this loneliness. No, even the previous canto, he finished with this line. Lonely his days and splendid like the suns. Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, always in some other places also he appreciate this loneliness
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. It's very strange that how in ordinary life we don't want people to be all by themselves. We want to give them company and don't go alone for a walk, let me accompany you and all that. And it's very amazing that how on the spiritual path, loneliness is actually something which, first of all, you cannot avoid. And the second thing is that you begin to enjoy it. You begin to value and give it more importance, because it's very important to have this quietude, the alone time with oneself, so that it can also relate, kind of shine out in our day to day experience, the light that we touch through that loneliness. Yeah. Yeah, anything more?
So these lines are so beautiful, but what I would like to point out is, right now, while I'm looking at the participants, somehow this living light logo, I don't know, the essence just, I can see in that logo somehow the imperishable light and the moon flame, everything. I don't know, it just matched for me right
Yeah.
now.
Interesting. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. So, any further reflections on this, on these lines? Anyone? Okay, so in that case, let's go ahead if there is not anything. And at any time, yeah, please feel free to share. Yeah, anyone who feels ready. I think Jishnu ji wanted to read. Jishnu ji, if you want to go ahead. And after that, maybe Balakrishna ji can read. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
In the unfolding process of the self,
Sometimes the inexpressible mystery elects a human vessel of descent.
Yeah, again, beautiful, lines continue. And now he shares that how, as if the divinity is wanting to express itself more and more in its light and radiance on this material earth, in this manifestation. Because most of the times what we all see around us, corruption, hate, crime, all these things going on, and the newspaper is full of things which we don't really want to read, and we want to do something about it. So he says that sometimes, when we are ready, when the patrita is there, when the student is ready, then the teacher appears. They say, when the student is ready, then the teacher appears. So when we are becoming ready on this path of growth of consciousness, in the unfolding process of the self, the higher self, a self with a capital S, sometimes, he says, sometimes the inexpressible mystery, the mystery of the divine, who we cannot fathom what the divine is, who the divine is. We cannot fathom it. We can, yes, understand, maybe know more and more about it, but there would be never one day when I say, okay, now I know what divine is all about. That's the mystery. That is why we call it mysticism, and people who walk the path, mystics. Yeah. Sometimes the inexpressible mystery, a mystery that cannot be expressed no matter how many words you may use to point out to truth, elects a human vessel of descent. So again, beautiful lines, as if you are preparing a clay a vessel, how a potter prepares a clay vessel. And when the vessel is ready, when he has baked the vessel, then the vessel is ready to have something poured into it. It is strong enough, it is ready. Now, sometimes, and we cannot guess what these times are. That's the beauty. This is what we call as divine grace, has its own ways to work. We don't know why would it happen, but definitely there would be some things on the face value where we can understand, yes, maybe the person was ready, but we don't know the hidden forces at work. We can never really pinpoint why the divine mystery or inexpressible mystery would choose this vessel or that vessel, but the divine has its own ways of working. So in this unfolding, this blossoming process of the self, sometimes the inexpressible mystery elects a human vessel of descent. So the descent of the springs of light, springs of wisdom and knowledge, the descent of all those waterfalls, it elects one particular vessel, so that the light, the shine, the wisdom can shine through in the world through that vessel. And we have examples in front of us, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, vessels of inexpressible mystery, elected vessels of, and these experiences are Sri Aurobindo's mother's own experiences. So we don't have to make any guesses here, and this is how he explains that whenever we are on this process, then if we are ready, in whatever capacity we are ready, we are given a chance to be an instrument of the divine. And it may be a very, very modest, humble capacity that we are ready for, but then that is my field of work. That is what I am born for, that is my purpose of life. So the divine begins to use that human vessel for its manifestation, vessel of descent. Yeah, anything from these lines, any reflections? Okay, so in absence of anything, let's go ahead. Balakrishnan ji,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Yeah.
A breath comes down from a supernal air, a presence is born. A guiding light awakes, a still balls upon the instrument. Fixed motionless like a marble monument. Stone calm, the body is a pedestal supporting a figure of a external space.
Yeah, eternal peace. Yes, thank you, Balaji.
Mm.
So I would also like to point out here that the way we talk about Savitri here is a little different way, in the sense I try to relate it with as much practical human our ordinary human experiences, because it's here, that is my reality. I am an ordinary human being. I am drenched in darkness and unconsciousness, and that is why I need more and more light. Yeah. So there may be many, many layers of understanding these very lines, but we, in these sessions, we'll try to keep it closer to our own practical lives, so that it gives us more and more understanding of our movement on this path. Yeah. A breath comes down from a supernal air. A presence is born. A guiding light awakes. A stillness falls upon the instruments. Beautiful lines again. And Mother has shared to all of us who touch Savitri or try to touch Savitri. Mother says that even if you read these lines, don't understand it neither mentally, philosophically, or emotionally, it doesn't matter. Just reading these lines does something to you. These are mantric lines, she says. So, and something comes to you and something gets revealed. Maybe you are working in the kitchen or doing your office work, and a line from Savitri comes to you, and maybe sheds more light on your life. So a breath, when this unfolding of self is happening, as if a breath comes down from a supernal air, a very delicate, very beautiful kind of an air, very, very refined. So when the mystery has elected a human vessel for descent, how the descent is happening, that is what is explained. In what ways the descent can happen. As if a breath comes down, a fresh breath comes down from a supernal air. And owing to that, a presence is born, capital P, a presence is born. We have all heard of people talking about that God is present in all of us, God dwells in all of us. But when we look at our day to day life, that's not our reality. How I relate to my relationships or people, I don't truly see God there. Yeah. Now, the thing is that we have to clean the temple first, so that the living presence of the God can be installed in that temple. What we do in our temples outside, it's a very beautiful metaphor for our own inner temples. We take care of the temples outside, we clean the temples, there is a priest invoking, chanting all the time. And when we talk of our inner temples, the body as a temple, am I taking care of the cleanliness of this inner temple? And if I am not, how can I imagine that a God's presence would dwell in unclean environment? So although there is a potential for all of us to have this presence alive and in front seat, taking charge of our lives, but it is not our reality usually. Only when we become ready, we see the ugliness that we have in ourselves, we see our weaknesses, we try to overcome the weaknesses and convert all the ugliness, transform all the ugliness to beautiful things. Then we are ready for this presence being born. So when this grace descends in a human vessel, a presence is born. The divine presence is born. A guiding light, inner guiding light, it awakes. So as if so far it was sleeping. And why was it sleeping? Because I was not really bothering about it. I was not consulting it in my day-to-day life. In my day-to-day life, I was enough consulting my emotions and limited point of views, my mental rigidities. But now when I am ready, now I give charge of my life, my decisions to this inner guiding light. I await for its inner voice and only then go forward and take the actions. Yeah. A presence is born, a guiding light awakes, a stillness falls upon the instruments. The instrument of mind, thought, the instrument of emotions, passions, the instrument of the body. Usually there is a lot of restlessness in all these instruments, as if we want to fix things in life. If I am not there, what will happen to people around me? We become this doer, take the burden of doership on ourselves. Now all that restlessness as if is swept away by a stillness falling upon the instruments. This reminds me of an image. Imagine that there are papers floating here and there, and you make a bundle of those papers and put a big stone piece on that paper. Now the papers will not fly here or there. Now, power of peace or stillness is like that. So that's why Mother talks about calling peace in the body, in the mind, in the emotions. This is the power that peace has, that all the papers of our mind and emotions and physical restlessness that were floating here and there, when I call peace in the body, it stills all the movement. So this descent of peace, first there is an aspiration from the being. I call, there is an intensity, oh divine, please help me, please come to help. We call from the below, and then there is this descent from above, as if like a eagle stooping coming to help. you know the divine comes and descends in whatever form I may be needing. A stillness falls upon the instruments, so there is no restlessness anymore in the mental instrument, the emotional instrument, and the physical being. Fixed, motionless, like a marble monument. Marble, Mother would say marble has an intensity. Marble is very concentrated beauty. And someone, I think one of the sadhaks during Sri Aurobindo's time, he also remarked that when he saw Sri Aurobindo sitting on his, in his elder days, sitting on his sofa, his body appeared like a marble. Such beautiful body he had. Yeah, and still, absolutely full of stillness. Fixed, motionless like a marble monument, stone calm, the body is a pedestal, supporting a figure of eternal peace. So again, beautiful imagery he uses here, Sri Aurobindo, that body, a still being, a very, very still and calm being, as if is a base, the foundation, pedestal on which the eternal peace is now standing, erected, like a monument is erected. Yeah. Yeah, please share your reflections, if anything.
That marble, no, I think that is told by Dr. Nirodparan. And also his experience also, I think Jishnuji must be knowing. First time when he came from London as a doctor, actually, I think he came with his cousin. And that time mother also there actually. So when he went to the darshan of mother there, he didn't know what to ask because he didn't know anything about yoga. So mother also asked him such questions. What is your field of interest? When you finished that studies, what you are going to, like that only she asked. So he felt very happy, and he had to return that day or next day, I don't know. Yeah, then he came to the railway station and was sitting in the train actually. That time he opened his eyes, he saw mother's face everywhere, everywhere. He couldn't, I mean, it is not I'm going. He just asked for it to go actually. So that power mother, I mean, used that this line, no, elects a human vessel of descent. Yes,
Beautiful,
it happened.
beautiful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. Yes, Jishnuji,
Uh, uh,
please. Yeah.
Thank you, Chitradi. Yes, actually, first time when he went, he had gone to ashram with his niece. And then the question which mother asked was very important. Mother asked him that, how do you formulate your aspiration? And Nirabharan said that that time I had no understanding, forget aspiration, to explain, uh, to understand what is mother asking me. And so he just said, I want Ananda. And mother said, oh, Ananda, it is very difficult to have. And then he said, so I was disappointed. And looking at that he is disappointed, mother said, no, but don't worry, you will have it. And then he had this experience. And if I recall right, my memory is fading. Most probably, he then, I mean, he could not bear that Ananda for prolonged period. That's like Chitradi said, he asked it to go and then it stopped. And then Shervinda commented something about, I've forgotten. I mean, he must have said that if you would have continued to have that experience, that would be something great that you would have, but out of your stupidity, you stopped that experience.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But he is the scribe, no, to write the Savitri lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
He only, yeah.
Yeah, Luba, you want to share something?
Yeah, something I would like to share
Please.
regarding how Shervinda is using um, words like a stone calm regarding body. And I don't think it is metaphor or just imaging type. It is precisely what happens when you go to deep meditation. Especially it happens to me. I felt many times if my meditation is deep and if you sit on samadhi or somewhere, the peace descends, you feel your body is like a stone. It's like something like absolutely unmovable, like monument. It's like you can't move legs, you can't move arms. It's like becoming like a statue, and that stone calm what he's using at pedestal supporting figure of eternal peace. It's we have to see that how precisely Shervinda is choosing words. It's like indication for us also who is trying to do meditation or trying to do inner discoveries. It is just hinting words which helps us like a guidance. Of course it's in a imagery form, but who is trying to do, they will immediately feel, yes, it is it's like that exactly how it is describes the feeling what you get, what happens to your physical body, not to the subtle but to the physical body. What happens is like stone becoming. That's what I wanted to just pay
Beautiful.
attention to, for
Beautiful.
that how
Yeah.
precisely Sherbin the choosing
Yes.
words is for us not only the poetry, it's indication and guidance
Yes,
also, very
absolutely.
precise guidance.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, absolutely. I think Mother also shares that as we grow in our experiences, whatever human experience we get, on this path, we relate more and more with Savitri, just like you related with the stone calm, because this is your practical experience. You felt it, and that's how you can connect with these lines.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And the more we advance in, the more we can find things
beautiful.
hinting, relating to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, great. So let's go forward. Yes, so this is again another form. So he is sharing here in what forms the descent can happen. There are several ways in which descent can happen, and now he further reveals one of these ways. Yeah, how the descent can happen. So anyone who feels ready, please go ahead.
Or a revealing force sweeps blazing in. Out of some vast superior continent, knowledge breaks through, trailing its radiant seas, and nature trembles with the power, the flame.
Yes. So another way in which the descent happens, or a revealing force sweeps blazing in. Look at the intensity. Revealing force, a force which is very intense, and it reveals something in our being. It sweeps blazing in out of some vast superior continent. Earlier he used, coming from as if vast oceans, and now he uses out of some vast superior continent. Now continent is a solid mass, it has a solidity about it. So there must be something very direct that he is hinting here. Out of this force, this revealing force has come from a very solid, concrete, as if superior, hard mass, which can be very, very, maybe we are able to touch it or experience it as we grow in our experiences, where it is coming from. Out of some vast, superior continent, this revealing force comes sweeping, blazing in. And due to this, knowledge breaks through trailing its radiant seas. and it leads to more and more revelation of knowledge within the being. This is what we call about, when we talk about, even education. When we talk about education, is also, when we go to the root, it means to grow forth from within. And mother says that nothing can be taught. A true teacher, nothing can be taught really. So obviously it does not mean that you cannot teach somebody anything, but it's, she says that a true teacher just has to point out the student that the knowledge is within him, and he has to just point out the ways in which he can touch those aspects within him, which can lead to more and more knowledge and more revelation. Yeah. So this knowledge, as if this is a byproduct of this revealing force that comes from that, as a descent, as a form of descent from some higher forces, higher superior continent. Knowledge breaks through trailing its radiant seas, and nature trembles with the power, the flame. I think this is what, I think Jishnuji and Chitraji was touching upon, to have that much of intensity and flame and power in the body. Nature is not used to having that much of intensity and power, that the divine is capable of. And that's why mother also shares that do not pull the divine towards you, offer yourself to the divine. Because if you pull the divine, if you want to ask for power and this or that experience, the nature may not be able to tolerate that experience. So slowly, as we give ourselves to the divine, to the mother, as and when any experience is necessary for our growth, or we are ready, then it is given to us. So not to do the sadhana for particular this and that experience, but sadhana for the sake of love for the sadhana, or love for the divine, love for the mother. I think that is the best way of being on this path, being a child of the mother. you know and because there we are innocent, we are, just like a child is in love with the mother, child loves the mother, and so mother directs and the child follows, owing to the love he has. He respects the mother or loves the mother. He knows that the mother will think nice of me when whatever she thinks is beneficial for me. So when we can be as innocent as a child, not wanting, demanding spiritual experiences on the way, then as the nature becomes ready, then those experiences are given in that accordance. So here he's sharing that nature can tremble with that much of power, that much of flame, that much of intensity that comes in form of descent. you know yeah, it can happen that it trembles the nature, because it takes time, nature takes time to grow in strength. Yeah. So any more additions or reflections on it, please share.
This nature trembles is about our nature. Is he talking about, or
Yeah, so Geeta ji, I think just what Jishnu ji and Chitra ji were sharing about, that when, for example, Nirodha asked, about that I want Ananda, and mother said that yes, you would have it, and he's having the experience of bliss, but the body trembles. The body is not strong enough to contain the experience. Just like imagine that there is a plastic glass, okay, and then there is a very solid walled glass, a wall kind of a stone made glass. Yeah. So if there is a waterfall coming, the plastic glass will be swayed away with the waterfall.
oh,
It cannot sustain that much of force. Yeah. But if there is a stone walled glass which has a stronger strength and energy, then maybe it can contain some amount of force. So slowly, as we grow on the path, our natures also become ready for more and more containment of the divine anand or bliss, or
okay?
yeah, the force.
Oh,
Yes, that would
yes.
how
Now,
that is how I would relate it. Yeah, please, Mahendra ji.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
ma'am. This superior content, does it mean like that mass? It means this materialist life, and this divine light is like a buoyant force which helps this ship to uh, float in the sea of this
uh
materialistic life.
yeah, Mahendra ji, I don't think superior continent is referring to material life, because this is the place from which the force is coming. He
Okay.
says that revealing force sweeps blazing in out of some vast superior continent. So yeah, Luba, please go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, Luba, you wanted to share?
No, by mistake.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share, Mahendraji, that it is not referring to material existence. Yeah. Yes. Also this nature trembles with power. You must have seen many times people who are bhaktas, in bhakti tradition, or uh, people who have these spiritual experiences of some or the other sort. Many a times they become really mad, like they have to either dance it out, or they have to do some weird activity to express that power out, intensity out. Why? Because the body cannot contain that amount of divine intensity. Yeah, and if we call these experience to ourselves before we are ready, then it can actually, mother says that it can damage our our being. So we must not call or pull the divine force. We should give ourselves, offer ourselves in more and more ways to the divine. Think of the divine, our thoughts and emotions turned towards the divine, our works, karma yoga turned towards the divine, all that. Yes, Jishnuji, please go ahead.
So about this experience, Sri Ramakrishna said that metaphorically he used that as if an elephant has entered a mud hut. Just like if there is a big elephant which is within the mud hut and the mud hut will fall apart. So this high power, same way as mother has said, so he equated that if this force descends and you are not ready, and that will cause more disruption than help.
Yeah, beautiful example. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So let's move
So
forward.
I
Yes,
have a
Shweta.
question.
Yes, yes.
I didn't understand this. So if you're not ready, it would cause more disruption. I understand that you have to offer yourself to divine and not
Yeah.
pull. What would pulling yourself? I
Okay.
didn't get that. Yeah.
Okay. So pulling oneself, pulling the divine or pulling powers to oneself, Shweta, would mean that many a times, see, we are all wanting to be somebody, some of us may admit, some of us may not admit, but all of us are wanting to be somebody. So when we are hopeless from the material life, many a times we turn to the spiritual life, that okay, let me have some beauty here, because in material life I could not have any beauty. Yeah. So with this eagerness to have more and more spiritual experience, we turn to the spiritual path, because it gives us joy. It actually makes us feel nice about ourselves when we are having these experiences, that at least there is something beautiful that we find in ourselves. So what can happen, and also happens, that if we live the path of sadhana, not for true sadhana, not for all life as yoga, but for yearning for more and more of these rich, beautiful experiences or siddhis or powers, then they may just do damage to us, because the powers or siddhis are a byproduct of the spiritual path, should be a byproduct of the spiritual path. They are not the particular thing that I am here for. Just like imagine that there is a teacher who just wants to teach. Yeah. So he just teaches. Now the salary or whatever remuneration he gets, he says that that is a prasad that I get. I'm not doing the work for the salary. So these spiritual experiences uh, can damage. It means that the power that it has, the intensity that these spiritual experiences have, sometimes we are, the mental being, emotional being, and the physical being, it is not ready to take that much of intensity. So we can actually, it can sway our balance, it can bring us into disharmony if we call for these experiences, that give me that or this kind of experiences. Yeah. So that's what it means,
Yeah.
shortly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I got clarity.
Okay.
I have something to share in
Yes,
this.
please. Yeah.
Like you said, calling for the, when you're not ready. I can't tell you how many years I've tried reading this Savitri, and I would get severe headaches, migraine headaches. Then my body would become very heated up. So today, with the great, this thing, I said, okay, let me see if I'm meant to uh, understand this, because I've always been wanting to read Savitri and understand. And I guess, it has taken me years to come to this, that it's really revealing itself a little bit. Thanks to you.
Yeah, beautiful,
Thank
Geeta ji. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah. I think that can happen with any of us, any of us, that mother says that if you cannot understand Savitri through your mind, that's what she says. She says that we can understand bits and pieces through the little limited mind that we have, but most of it, how we would understand it, first, as Luba was sharing her experience, through our practical experiences, and also through insights that we will get reading these lines. Insights are not functions of thought. Insights and intuitions, they are kind like descents, they come to us when we are silent in ourselves. So I'm hoping that more and more light uh, is coming through Savitri to all of us. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, even I would want to add. Like I've been trying to read last 4 years. Like I got the book and I'm trying to read. Somehow, I couldn't understand anything. But now here, when I joined, we were on Canto 3 towards the end, right?
Yeah,
So that's when I joined, and you won't believe I took my book and I started reading from, because I'd missed the first two, no?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
started reading, and every single word and sentence I could understand. It
Beautiful.
was like, oh
Yeah,
my god, I couldn't believe it. It was nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you develop a kind of a familiarity with it. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Great.
It is said somewhere by the mother that you come to it only when the time is right.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
only then will you actually perceive it, and only then will you actually not just read it, you'll drink it.
drink it. Yeah,
He
sip
said
it
it
and drink
somewhere.
it. Yeah.
Ah.
Beautiful. Yeah, great. So,
Yeah, true. Thanks.
anyone who is ready can read these three lines.
A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours, or we adore the master of our souls.
Yeah, thank you, Mohanji. So, again, he's talking about the descent into the human vessel here, in what kind the descent happens. Now, what happens? A greater personality sometimes possesses us. You feel that this is not the older you that you recognize in yourself. There is something different that is happening to you. There's something powerful that takes the charge of your being when you allow this to happen. When the grace elects you and the mystery descends in the human vessel. A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours, or we adore the master of our souls. So at times we may know that, yes, I feel a bit different than what I was years ago, or a few months ago. But another way it can happen is that we begin to adore. It's like a bhakt bhav that develops. We begin to adore this ingrowing grace in us, and we recognize that grace. No one can say that you do not recognize that grace. Whenever grace comes and takes charge of your being, however little, modest, in whatever way it expresses itself, we begin to adore it. That is another way that we become aware of the master of our souls. We have a recognition, inner recognition, that there is something new that is happening, something very powerful, something very auspicious which is happening, and I must, bow down to this Lord within, which is now begin to shine from within. Yeah, so we adore the master of our souls, as if the inner temple is lit now and the deity is there installed, and the sanctity you have the sanctity is also maintained, because whenever we talk about temples, it's very important to maintain the sanctity of a temple. Yeah, you cannot allow yourself to do all kind of activities inside the temple. Yeah, so the sanctity, we begin to maintain that sanctity of the being. Yeah, any add-ons and reflections on these lines? Okay, so let's keep on moving on. Anyone who feels ready, then the small bodily ego. Yeah.
Then the
Then
small.
small bodily ego. Okay.
Now you read.
Sorry for this confusion.
Savitri.
Yeah. Okay, Geeta ji, go
Then
ahead.
the,
Yeah.
then the small bodily ego thins and falls, no more insisting on its separate self. Losing the punctilio of its separate birth, it leaves us one with nature and with God.
I think we can actually do an experiment here, since there are many of us now who are joining. There is something called improv. It's like a theater technique, where what they do is that, imagine that there is a group of 5, 6 people, and all of them have to work in such a way that they have to create a harmony in the way of working. So although we are all here muted, right, and you don't know who is going to speak next, yet if we actually tune within ourselves, we'll be able to unmute ourselves exactly at the right point and not clashing with each other. So that is one experiment which we can try on this path. I think it would be very interesting, and then slowly we see that we are actually increasing in this synchronicity or this harmony, that whenever one person is unmuting, the other one is not uh, unmuting himself at the same time, because he has already an awareness that maybe something else, but it may take time, but that's something which would be very interesting here to do. Okay. So then the small bodily ego thins and falls. Again, beautiful lines. No more insisting on its separate self. The way we live as human beings, ordinary consciousness, we live as an ego, me and my story, me and my sadhana, me and my path, me and my relations, me and my, all that happened to me. And we live as that me and my story. And this is what he calls as separate self, this ego, me and my story, this which creates the separation, which makes me other from the other person. So this ego is drenched in the body, the physical ego. Then there is this mental ego and the emotional ego. So bodily wise also, I feel separate from the other. So that can be called as the physical ego. Yeah. So now, as more and more this inner grace or the divine descent takes the charge of the being, now there is no insistence of me being a separate self. You lose that importance that you give yourself all the time. Most of the times we are thinking that we are so important, indispensable we are, self-obsessed usually many times. And even when we think very little of ourselves, that's also a kind of an obsession. So those two extremes are always an obsession. Either we are just too much into humility or we are too much obsessed about our own importance. We have to be somewhere, I would say, kind of dissolved on the path, on the middle. Neither too modest. Mother says in one of her texts, she says that when I begin to try to find what is my uniqueness, what is my role in this universal existence, so I would just be a flower, neither with an excessive humility and nor with excessive pride. This is what mother has to say. So somewhere in the middle, that because excessive modesty is also a form of self deceit, kind of we want to give importance to ourselves. So here, when these experiences happen, the growth of consciousness happens, the divine elects the human vessel, the ego thins and falls. Beautiful, the small bodily ego thins and falls. We are not giving ourselves that much of importance anymore. No more insisting on its separate self. All my worries, all my anxieties just go down the drain, because I know now that nothing of that surface thing is as important as this, what is happening right now. Yeah. So as if the master of the being rises and all the little fellows go and hide away. They are not needed anymore. no more insisting on its separate self, losing the punctilio of its separate birth. This separation, which is the cause of all our miseries and problems. Why that person did that to me. So, again, separation. All the misery comes because of this separation, and no wonder that we want to feel one with the other. That's why we love this feeling of falling in love, because there is a oneness that we feel in that experience. So although intention is that we feel one with the others, but in our day to day experience we are not there. Yeah, but owing to this election of the vessel and growing descent of the divine grace, now the bodily ego thins and falls. Something else becomes more important. No more insisting on its separate self. So I go away from the little trivia and pettiness of the life. Losing the punctilio of its separate birth, it leaves one with the nature and with God. So there is this oneness that one experiences. Now, this reminded me when I was going through these lines. Alan Watts, if you have ever heard to Alan Watts, he talks about a continuity in existence. He talks that, okay, where is the human ending and where is the air beginning? Can you say that the human being is ending here, where the body ends, and the air begins here? You cannot, because human being has no existence if the air is not there. And how would you say? So, for example, if I'm looking at a tree, how can you say that this is where the tree ends, where the roots end, this is where the tree ends, and this is where the soil begins? Because the tree has no existence apart from being entangled in each and every part with the soil. Without the soil, the tree has no existence. Without the air, the tree has not any existence. So although in our limited understanding we name the tree as this particular tree, and soil as this thing, the brown thing that is there, but if we actually look at their interconnection, we will see that there is a continuity in experience in life. I cannot say that this is there, this is where I end and this is where you begin, owing to the fact that I have separate body than you. So this is our biggest illusion that we carry, and owing to this we suffer. The suffering that we have at the moment on the globe, that one person said, okay, I will eat this stuff, no matter whether it is poisonous or non-poisonous. Now he thought that it is his personal decision, personal choice, but really, was this his personal decision? Was it just limited to that person? Now the whole globe suffers from a decision that one person made. I'm just kind of putting it out, not exactly must be true, but that my decision, my choice is not my personal choice. It affects each and every planet, each and every, sorry, being on this planet. So we are all one with each other, although in ego consciousness we do not recognize that we are one. Yeah. So this ego consciousness, we leave apart the ego consciousness. It thins and fades away and loses its grip over us when this divine grace takes charge of the being. Again, beautiful opportunity, beautiful possibility. And I would say, although some people may regard me wrong, I don't know, but I would say this is the birthright of each and every individual, that we have to say, yes, I am ready, and allow ourselves in whatever capacity to be used by the divine grace, in whatever little humble, modest capacity. Yeah, because that is our true purpose to exist here. Yeah. So this beauty, this delight, this grace is for all of us to taste. There are no one or two particular human beings who can enjoy this beauty and delight of divine grace taking charge of their being. It is for all of us. Human birth would be very a dissatisfied birth if we do not allow this to happen. Yeah. So, okay. Any more sharings on this?
Yeah, all these lines, no, these yeah, meditative lines, before you sit for meditation, really you can utter from that line onwards a greater personality sometimes. And also further 3 lines we are going to read, no? These are beautiful meditative lines. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for this.
Thank you, Chitraji. So let us read these last 3 lines and then we will close after this. Whoever feels ready.
I can read.
Yes, please, Rakhi. Yeah.
In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs.
Yeah. Yeah, as Chitraji was sharing, beautiful lines to be meditated upon. In moments when the inner lamps are lit, so imagine again cleansing the area of the temple. You are creating a space for the divine presence to be there, and now it is there. The inner lamps are lit. You feel that presence. You are one with that presence. You enjoy being in that presence. You enjoy the company of this space, the inner lamps, and the life's cherished guests are left outside. Now, I would actually, before I go about it, I would like to, because this is very nice, and I'm sure we all have reflections upon it. Uh, any ideas on what he means by leaving the life's cherished guests outside? So, any ideas would be really welcome, one by one. Yes, Luba, please.
I think it is our desires, and because normally in vital life we very much welcome our desires, our wishes, and etc. So that's why it's life cherished gifts. But we have to leave them outside because they will disturb that inner light, which is in lamps, which is over there inside.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I think that's why mother would say that one has to recognize a desire not as a part of his being. When we say, it is my desire, my wish, but something coming from outside, and then it is easy to reject it. It is easy not to follow it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Any more reflections on this? Life's cherished guests are left outside. So, what are these cherished guests? Yes, Jishnuji, please.
Yeah, I feel it's the same because in similar thoughts, as Luba said, that when the inner lamps are lit, that is when our inner consciousness grows. And when the life cherished guests, that is something that we externally desire or our surface consciousness desires, they are left outside. Our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulf. And then we have the opportunity to look within ourselves. As long as that, looking within, as long as we are looking outside, our mind is distracted outside, we do not have the opportunity to look within. And when these two things are happening, these two conditions are happening to our being, then our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs.
Beautiful. Yes. The inner communion. Yes. Yeah. Any
And
more
also
thoughts?
know that, yeah.
Could also mean
Yeah. So, Chitraji, please go ahead.
Okay, because the life's cherished guest, yeah, every time I feel, this Sherbindu's really humorous way, he's how very beautifully and in a very humorous way he is pointing out human tendencies, to cherished guest. We will always used to cherish the outside moments, the outside
Beautiful.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because whenever I used to sit for meditation, I will pray like this: help me to leave these cherished guests outside. I used to pray like this and
Yeah.
use the utter these lines. Yeah. So automatically a laugh will come to me every time. Cherished guest, my God. Yeah.
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 Beautiful. I think it's almost like, like
Mm.
we as children of the divine, we become addicted to our candies and sweets and lollies, which is
Yeah.
destroying our health, but we are not able to leave them, all these desires. And yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, Jyotsna ji.
I think in addition to desires, it is all our attachments also. the little attachments that we have with people, things, whatever we say, we call them, or emotional desires and things. All attachments have to be left outside, and you go an empty cup and sit down. You totally empty yourself and sit down. That's when, we actually sit down and speak to ourselves.
Yeah, I completely agree with this, because with desires, attachments also, because whenever you're sitting, these small things do come up. So these guests need to be away when we are in meditation.
Yeah. It's very interesting also how he places this here. He says, in moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside. So it feels that this taste of this inner lamp, as we were discussing, I think in prayers and meditations that day, Jishnuji was commenting and Shreya spoke something about it. If I do not have a taste of this inner beatitude and silence and light, then it is hard for me to let go of those cherished guests, because they are cherished. I enjoy kind of entertaining those guests, those thoughts that come to me again and again, those emotions that come to me again and again, all the worries, all the anxieties, all the plans. But when I know that all the power or the divine grace, that is enough. Just soaking myself in that divine grace and silence is enough, and I will be guided whatever the path is for me in life. Then I am slowly able to let go of those guests, because now they are not as cherished as they were at one point of time. Now there is something more that I value in my life, and slowly I am able to let go, as you were sharing, desires, attachments, thoughts, impulses, tendencies, patterns. We entertain all these, thinking that these are my friends, but we know that they turn to be our enemies, mostly not in a bad sense, because we learn through each experience, not in that sense, but then slowly for a deeper life we need to let go of the outbound tendency of the mind, always desiring for something or this or that, and then coming inward, as Jishnuji was sharing, and speaking, having this inner communion with ourselves in our silences, the depths of our being, the gulfs of our being. I think that is very satisfying, and satisfaction and joy is something that all of us crave for in life. And once we get a taste of it, we know for ourselves how satisfying and full of joy this can be. And also very enlightening in the sense that it guides our way. It's not like a dumb silence. It guides our way. It tells us which action to take, which words to speak, where to go ahead, where to step back. That this guidance comes from within if we are ready to listen. Yeah, so beautiful lines, and thank you everyone for sharing and commenting and reflecting upon it together. If there is anything more, please share, and else we will end it here.
You said you've shared the previous thing recording. Where have you shared?
So
I joined only today.
okay, so Geeta ji, I will add you on the Savitri group, and I will also
You added
share.
me?
I added you.
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't see any recording.
You didn't
No,
see?
so
Okay.
Monica,
Yeah.
we will not be able to see the past recordings unless you repost them.
Oh, right. That's true.
Yeah, we
So
will
I
be
will.
able to see from today's.
Okay. Great. So I will share, Geeta ji, separately with you. I will share the recordings. Yeah?
Okay, thank you so much.
So
Thank you, it was amazing.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. Anything more?
This was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks, Rakhi, for joining.
Monica,
Yeah. Hanji. Ji,
today is Kabir Jayanti.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I want you to say some dohas.
I have to say some doha. Yeah, I can say it. Kabir is in my blood now.
Yeah, really, you
Stop
sing.
the recording.
Yeah. I am also waiting. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recording बंद कर दो.
हाँ.